Let's start the topic in the morning. I put down the financial reports in my hand and rubbed my stinging eyes on the monitor in front of me. Strings of numbers still jumped clearly. This was the fourth time in 3 months that abnormal fund transfers had appeared, each transaction under 5 million. Individually, they might seem insignificant, but accumulated, they had already exceeded 200 million. Even more bizarre was that these transactions all occurred late at night. I opened the surveillance system and pulled up the footage from when these transactions occurred quickly. My finger froze on the keyboard, and my whole body felt like it had fallen into an ice cave in the dimly lit corridor. My wife Lenu was walking with Swang, the company's biggest partner. She was wearing a Chanel suit and high heels, intimately linking her arm with his as they walked into her office. And that day I was away on a business trip. I fast-forwarded to an hour later. The two of them came out one after another. Layu's hair was slightly messy, and her face had an unnatural flush. Swang straightened her collar for her, and she playfully hit him before falling into his arms. I watched the entire video expressionlessly. Then I opened the surveillance records. From the past 2 years, intimate scenes. Flash before my eyes, kisses in the office, flirting in the elevator, clandestine figures in the underground parking garage. They were so brazen, as if they had long been accustomed to this immoral pleasure. My wife, the dignified legal director of an investment company, again and again with my business partner, staged such a good show in my absence in the office late at night. I gripped the coffee cup in my hand. Scalding liquid overflowed from between, my fingers burning the back of my hand painfully. But this pain was too insignificant compared to the nausea churning in my heart. At this moment, we have been married for 5 years. She was the campus belle I pursued and won over from business school. I gave her the best of everything: career status, luxury goods, and now her return to me is such naked betrayal. My phone suddenly vibrated. It was a message from her. "Honey, are you working overtime at the company tonight? Should I ask the housekeeper to send you some late-night snacks?" I stared at this message for a long time, until the phone screen automatically dimmed. Then I stood up and walked to the window. Through the glass, I could see my reflection, 35 years old, suit and tie, this standard look of a successful person, but the expression on my face at this moment was inexplicably ridiculous. I reopened my phone and replied, "No need, I'm coming home soon." A lie for a lie, that's only fair. Chapter 2. It was almost 4 hours when I got home. The villa was pitch black, except for a warm yellow bedside lamp in the master bedroom on the 2nd floor. Lenu, wearing a silk nightgown, was leaning against the headboard reading documents. Seeing me come in, she put down the files and smiled. "It's so late. Are you very busy with work?" I changed into my pajamas and lay down beside her. "Yes, several projects are at a critical stage recently, and I'm a bit overwhelmed. You need to take care of yourself." She reached out and turned off the bedside lamp, gently rubbing my cheek. "I just had my secretary order a batch of deep-sea fish oil today. Remember to take it tomorrow." In the darkness, listening to her gentle murmurs, I suddenly found it using for 5 years. She has been such a perfect wife. Considerate, gentle, successful in her career, yet never forgetting to take care of the family. Everyone envies me for marrying such a woman, but now I know that this is just a carefully designed, tender trap. I turned over and pulled her into my arms. She leaned against me, obediently letting out a contented sigh. "Honey, you smell like coffee." She wrinkled her nose. "You drink a lot of coffee again, right? It's not good for your stomach." I didn't speak, just tightened my arms around her. She thought I was being affectionate and patted my back with a light laugh, and I was thinking, just a few hours ago was she nestled in Su Yang's arms. Like this was she speaking such considerate words in such a gentle voice. In the late-night bedroom, we embraced and slept. She quickly fell asleep, her breathing long and even, but I was more awake than ever. Chapter 3. The next morning, I excused myself from breakfast. With her citing a meeting in the car, I called my private investigator, a trusted partner of many years who usually handled investigations into my business rivals. "I need a detailed report on all interactions between Lin Yu and Swang. including communication records, meetings, and financial transactions. No problem. He paused. Boss, how far back? Should I go? I rubbed my temples. 2 years? No, 3. I need to know when they started after hanging up. I opened the files I brought home last night. They were the documents side. Asked the finance department to prepare on the surface. Everything looked normal. But a closer examination of the Crosby transactions revealed a startling truth. Su Yang's company was secretly acquiring shares in my company, and the one making it all possible was Lenu, as the chief legal officer. She was perfectly positioned to facilitate Sui's acquisition without attracting attention. I sneered. No wonder Swang had been so chummy with me these past 2 years, calling me brother. So affectionately behind my back, he'd not only stolen my wife, but was also trying to swallow my company in Liu. My trusted wife was his most capable accomplice at the office. I first met with a few key board members discussing some insignificant project updates back in my office. I saw Liu coming out of the break room. She was carrying 2 cups of coffee. Seeing me, she paused. Haven't had breakfast yet. I just made some coffee. I saw her familiar smile. But all I could think of was the image from the surveillance footage. Did this woman with the same gentle expression while serving. Swang coffee. No thanks, I have to go out later. I smiled at her, by the way. Is Mr. Su coming today? Yes, he has an appointment at 3 p.m., she said, glancing at her watch. I've prepared a new proposal. Shall we discuss it together? Then I agreed and went into my office. The moment the door closed, my smile van, I opened my computer and pulled up Su Yang's company's recent financial statements. I quickly found some clues. This man had made quite a bit of money in the stock market, and the source of the funds he used to acquire my company's shares was highly suspicious. I called my vice president Li Jun on the intercom. He was someone I had personally promoted, and he was completely loyal to me. Investigate the source of Su Yang's recent funds, I said, handing him a document. Especially these large transfers, I need to know where they came from after he left. I pulled up Li Yu's file as chief legal officer. She had handled too many important documents, thinking back Su Yang's smooth sailing in the business world. These past 2 years was probably due in no small part to her efforts. My wife, you've really outdone yourself. My phone rang. It was a preliminary report from the private investigator. I opened the attachment. The first thing I saw was a photograph in a hotel suite. Len was near, kneeling on the carpet, kissing Swang. The photo was clear enough to see the intoxicated expression on her face, and the timestamp on the photo was 2 years and 3 months ago. At that time, we had been married for less than 3 years. I put down my phone, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath when I opened them again. My eyes were calm. Since you two enjoy acting so much, I'll play along. But the ending of this play may not be what you expect. Chapter 4. At 300 p.m. sharp, Swang arrived at the company dressed in a suit and tie. He looked SV and carried his usual smile. He gave me a warm hug as soon as he entered. Old friend, long time no see, I replied with a smile. Yes, the last time we met was at the golf course. Right. He sat down expertly, loosening his tie. We had a great time that day. Let's schedule another round. Sometime. I nodded, of course. At that moment, Lenu entered, holding a stack of documents. She nodded to both of us and sat down at the conference table. Mr. Su, this is the new cooperation plan we've drafted. She handed us each a copy. Please take a look and see if there's anything that needs to be revised. I pretended to read the document carefully, but from the corner of my eye, I noticed Su Yang looking at her. The burning intensity in his eyes was disgusting. Lenu maintained a professional demeanor, seemingly oblivious to his gaze. Only when she turned the page did her fingers tremble slightly. The meeting lasted for nearly 2 hours. We talked about a lot: project progress, future plans, as if we were truly discussing an important collaboration near the end. I casually mentioned, by the way, I've noticed some irregularities in the recent cash flow. Could your legal department Look into it. Liu paused for a moment, then quickly recovered. Of course, I'll arrange for someone to investigate immediately. That would be great, Director Lin Swang said with a smile. But I believe with Director Lin's capabilities, we'll definitely get to the bottom of this. I watched their feigned composure and sneered inwardly. So righteous in public, so sordid in private, how much longer will you keep up this act after they left? I turned on the surveillance cameras in the footage Len was standing. At the end of the corridor, making a phone call, her voice very low. He seems to have discovered something. I know. Don't worry. I'll handle it. I turned off the monitor and walked to the window from here. I could see the entire city skyline. All these years I've been a dominant force in the business world, unaware that the person sleeping next to me had already betrayed me. Fine, since that's what you want. Let's go all in. Then I'll see who's more skilled, you or me, and whose counterattack will be more deadly. Chapter 5. I purposely declined a social engagement tonight and came home early. Lai was busy in the kitchen seeing me. She looked surprised. "Why are you back so early today? Missed you?" I said softly in her ear, wrapping my arms around her waist from behind. "I was in a meeting today and kept thinking about how beautiful you looked in that dress." Her body stiffened noticeably, then relaxed. "You're such a smooth talker." I let her go and grabbed a beer from the fridge, watching her. Busy figure in the kitchen, I suddenly said, "Have you lost weight recently?" "Have I?" She turned around. "Maybe it's because I've been busy with work." Yeah, I took a sip of beer, hinting at something. "There's been a lot going on in the company lately." She paused again, then nonchalantly continued chopping vegetables. "It's all right. It's all part of the job." I put down the beer can and walked behind her. "Need any help?" "No, you go watch some TV," she said with a smile. "It'll be ready soon." I saw her reflection. In the mirror, gentle and virtuous, without a trace of guilt. 5 years, she's always been this perfect wife in front of me. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have believed she was capable of such a thing. At dinner, she served me a piece of sweet and sour pork. "Try it." I made it. Just the way you like it. I took a bite. It was indeed the familiar taste. Chapter 6. This sweet and sour pork rib is my favorite dish, and she always puts extra effort into making it. But now it only tastes bitter in my mouth. "How's the investigation into this afternoon's Maduro?" I asked casually. Lenu was ladling soup from me, and her hand trembled at my words, almost spilling the soup. "I've already had people look into it. I'll let you know as soon as there are any results." "No rush," I said with a smile, taking the soup from her. "I trust you." She visibly relaxed, but a flicker of unease flashed in her eyes. "I won't betray your trust after dinner." I sat in my study, working on some documents not long. After my phone vibrated, it was the second investigation report from the private investigator. I opened it to find it filled with records of Liu and Su Yang's meetings, hotels, private clubs, even photos of vacations abroad before and after each meeting. A substantial sum of money was transferred into Lin Yu's private account. I stared at the photos. Su Yung had his arm around her waist, kissing her in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of a 5-star hotel she was wearing a bikini lying on. A beach chair, letting him bend down and kiss her cheek. These photos span more than 2 years, with new records almost every month. The transfer records were even more sickening, starting from tens of thousands to later hundreds of thousands at a time. My wife, while selling her body and soul, had even increased her price several times over. Honey Lenu knocked on the study door. "I made you some ginseng tea." I quickly closed the file and said casually, "Come in." She walked in with the tea and placed it beside me. Then she wrapped her arms around my neck from behind. "Working so late you don't take care of yourself." I help her hand, rubbing it in my palm. "It's enough that you care for me." She rested her chin on my shoulder and chuckled softly. "Smooth talker." I turned around and pulled her into my arms. In the darkness, I looked at her expression and suddenly said, "Lenu, do you love me?" Her movements paused. Then she leaned in and kissed me. Of course I do. Why else would I marry you? I held her, smelling the familiar scent of her perfume, and suddenly felt nauseous just this afternoon. She had been with Sue Young at the hotel. The scent of perfume hadn't even faded yet, and she was already in my bed. What did this intimacy mean to her anyway? Chapter 7. The next day, I specifically invited the CFO to launch. There's been some unusual cash flow recently. I need you to look into it for me. I handed him a cigar, especially these Crosby transfers. He took the cigar, hesitated for a moment. Director Lynn, don't worry about her, report direct to me. I lit the cigar and took a deep drag. Also, don't let anyone else know about this for now. After lunch, I returned to the company and ran into Sue Young coming out of the elevator. Yo, little brother's back, he greeted me with a smile. Just finished discussing a few project details with Director Lynn. I smiled. Thanks, Mr. Sue. You're welcome, you're welcome. He patted my shoulder. Dinner together tonight? No. I have an appointment with another client tonight. All right, let's do it another day. Watching his retreating figure, I took out my phone and sent a message to Lee Jun. Investigate Sue Yang's recent itinerary. He quickly replied, already working on it. Should have results in the next couple of days. I put away my phone and walked into my office. I opened my computer and pulled up LIU's personnel file. Her resume showed she was a typical top student, a high-achieving graduate of a prestigious law school she'd won multiple major cases during. Her internship after graduation, she joined a well-known law firm and became a partner within 2 years. Such a resume was enough to make anyone envious. It's a pity she used her talents in the wrong places. I then pulled up the projects she'd handled. In the past 2 years, sure enough, she personally handled any project related to Swang, and every time at a critical moment, she'd find a way to create an advantage for Swang. No wonder he was able to quietly acquire so much stock in just 2 years. Just then, the intercom buzzed. It was Lee Jun, boss. There's something I need to report to you. Come in. He walked in with a stack of documents, his expression grave. I tracked the source of Sue Yang's funds. Most of the money was transferred from several offshore companies. I took the documents and quickly scanned them, my face gradually darkening. These offshore companies were all related to our competitors, and every time funds were transferred in Sue, Young would acquire a batch of our company's shares. In other words, he not only betrayed our partnership, but also colluded with our competitors, attempting to swallow my company. Keep investigating. I put the documents on the table, especially the shareholder composition of these offshore companies. After Lejeune left, I pulled up Lin U.S. work log. As expected, she had frequently visited our competitors' companies recently, nominally for business negotiations. She was actually acting as a liaison for Swang. No wonder he was able to quietly acquire so much stuff in just 2 years. Just then, the intercom buzzed inside was the recording of Li Nu and Sue Yang's conversation from last night. He asked the finance department to audit the accounts. We have to be careful, don't worry. I've already made arrangements. He won't find anything in those documents, but don't worry, in a few months. Once the acquisition plan is complete, everything will be over. Then I'll take you to live abroad and you won't have to put up with him anymore. Hearing this, I pressed the pause button. Very well, since you're planning to play this game, there's no need for me to hold back any longer. Chapter 8. When I got home that evening, Lenya was already asleep. I slipped in a bed quietly, but she seemed to be startled. Turning over and murmuring, "Honey, you're back." "Yeah, go back to sleep," I whispered, tucking her in. She SNBL closer to me and quickly fell back asleep, looking at her sleeping face. I remembered when we first met. She was still an intern at a law firm, and I had just taken over the family business. Our first encounter was at a business dinner. She was wearing a simple little black dress, standing alone in a corner, lost in thought. I walked over with a glass of red wine and asked if she wanted a drink. She smiled and shook her head. "No, I still have work to do later." Such a simple opening line, yet I fell for her at first sight. Pursuing her wasn't easy, but I never gave up finally. A year later, she accepted my proposal. Married life with her had always seemed perfect, successful in her career, yet never neglecting our home. We rarely argued, and she always tolerated my temper and busy schedule. Everyone said we were the perfect couple, envious that I had married such a virtuous and capable wife. But now I know it was all a facade. Her gentleness, her thoughtfulness, her perfection, all a carefully crafted deception. I got out of bed and went to the study, turning on the computer. I pulled up Su Yang's recent ITAR. In 3 days, he was flying to the U.S. to negotiate a merger, and according to the private investigator, he had already booked plane tickets in a hotel room for 2. It seemed to be planned to take Lenu with him. Glanced at the clock, 2:00 a.m. I picked up the phone and dialed Li Jun's number. "Get ready. We're going to the U.S. the day after tomorrow." After hanging up, I sent a message to the private investigator, "Keep a close eye on Lenu and Swang. They'll definitely slip up on this trip." To the U.S., putting down my phone, I walked to the window in the darkness. The city lights were still dazzling. "Len, you think this is a perfect betrayal? Just wait and see." Chapter 9. The next morning, I went to the company as usual. Len was all ready. Waiting in the conference room, seeing me enter, she handed over a document. "Husband, this is the report the finance department compiled yesterday. Take a look." I took it and flipped through it. All fake accounts she had meticulously designed. Every fund flow was impeccable. If I hadn't been prepared, I wouldn't have found any problems. "Good work," I said with a smile. "Have you been too tired recently? You look a little pale." She froze for a moment, subconsciously touching her face. "Really? Maybe I haven't been sleeping well. I'm going on a business trip to M Country the day after tomorrow. Do you want to come along?" I asked casually. "It's a good opportunity to relax." A flicker of panic crossed her face. "No, there's still a lot to do with the company." I didn't force her, just said, "Then rest well at home after the meeting." I returned to my office. Unsurprisingly, I saw a text message, "The itinerary for the day after tomorrow has been confirmed. Everything is going according to plan." It was from Swang. On the surface, the message was about the merger, but in reality, it was telling my wife that their plan to elope was ready. I sneered and deleted the message at noon. Lenu knocked on the door. "Want have lunch together?" "No. I have an appointment with a client. I organized the documents on my desk. You go ahead." She nodded and turned to leave. I suddenly called out to her, "Wait, come home early tonight," I said. "I want to have dinner with you." She smiled and agreed. "Okay, I'll try to get back early." After she left, I opened the surveillance. Sure enough, she went straight to the parking lot and got into Su Yang's car, probably thinking I was going on a business trip. They became even more reckless. I had someone follow them and soon received photos. In a private room of a high-end restaurant, Lai was sitting on Su's lap, the 2 clinking glasses. I don't know what Swang said, but she laughed heartily, throwing herself into his arms. I looked at all the photos with a blank expression, then I opened the safe and took out a document. It was the divorce agreement. I had my lawyer prepare it, listed all of Lai Yu's offenses once made public. She would not only be ruined, but also face legal sanctions. I had someone send the agreement to the notary. Public. Although I didn't need it yet, it was always good to be prepared. When I got home that evening, Lenya was indeed already busy in the kitchen, seeing me come in. She smiled and said, "I made your favorite dishes today." I walked over and hugged her from behind. "Why are you suddenly so virtuous? Aren't you going on a business trip?" She turned around and wrapped her arms around my neck. "I want you to think of home while you were away." I lowered my head and kissed her, and she quickly responded. It wasn't until the kiss ended that she said, "Let's eat first. The food is getting cold," looking at her face. I suddenly said, "Lenu, if I never came back, would you be sad?" She paused, then laughed. "Don't be silly. You won't be." I looked into her eyes and said word by word, "I will definitely come back." Chapter 10. The next morning, I arrived at the airport on time. Len had gotten up early. Specifically to see me off before I left, her eyes red-rimmed. She said, "Be safe. Come back soon." I patted her head. "Don't worry. I'll be back soon." Before turning away, I saw her take out her phone and quickly send a message. She was probably telling Soo-young that I had left before boarding. Lee Jun came up to me. "Everything's arranged," I nodded. "Good, let's begin after." The plane took off. I closed my eyes to rest. Not long after, the flight attendant came over with the meal cart and handed me a document. It was the latest news from the private investigator. Soo-young and Lenu had arrived at the airport half an hour ago and were preparing to board another flight to Country M. I opened my phone. Inside were photos of them taken at the airport. Liu was wearing sunglasses and a mask. While Swang was dressed casually, the two looked like an ordinary couple. It seemed they planned to elope directly after finishing the merger in Country. How naive did they think they could escape everything by running abroad? 10 hours later, we landed in Country. It was already dark when we left the airport. Lee Jun drove me to the hotel on the way. He said, "Swang booked a different hotel. Should we don't worry about them?" I interrupted him. "Proceed as planned." He nodded and said no more. After arriving at the hotel, I quickly tidied up and went straight to the acquiring company. The negotiations went very smoothly. The other party clearly hadn't expected me to come personally. By the time we signed a contract, it was already 9 new p.m. I looked at my phone. Sure enough, Len had sent me several messages asking if I had arrived and why I wasn't answering her calls. I casually replied, "In a meeting," then had someone look into Soo-young's whereabouts. Soon, the private investigator sent a message they were at a Michelin-starred restaurant not far from here. I checked the time and instructed Lee Jun, "Get ready. It's time to give them a surprise." Half an hour later, I stood out inside the restaurant and saw them through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Lenu was wearing a champagne-colored backless gown, her face radiant with smiles. Swang would occasionally whisper something in her ear, making her laugh uncontrollably. They really did look like a sweet couple. I opened my phone and recorded the scene. Then I turned and left, sending a message to Lee Jun. Execute. Chapter 11. Back at the hotel, it was already late at night. I sat by the floor-to-ceiling window, drinking and waiting for news. The phone screen lit up and dimmed again and again, all messages of concern from Lenu. "Husband, are you asleep? Why? Aren't you answering the phone? Are you too tired? Remember to eat on time?" I coldly looked at these seemingly tender words when suddenly my phone vibrated. It was Lee. "Jun, boss, things are done." I put down my glass. "Did you get the footage?" "Everything is recorded. The scene of Soo-young's transaction with that woman. Not a single shot is missing." Hanging up the phone, I opened the video sent by Lee Jun. In the video, Swang was chatting happily with a blonde woman, and in a booth not far behind them, Lenu was holding a wine glass, her face ashing. I knew what she was angry about. Swang was secretly meeting with their company's CFO for this merger and acquisition case. But in Liu's eyes, this was blatant betrayal. She thought Swang truly loved her and was going to take her away to elope. But she didn't know that in Swang's heart, she was just a tool to use against me in the business. World profit always comes first. Even so-called true love is just a bargaining chip for the exchange of benefits. In the video, Liu finally couldn't hold back, rushed up to Sue, and splashed red wine all over his face. Swang was enraged, grabbed her wrist, and wanted to teach her a lesson. Liu struggled to escape, but was pinned against the wall by him. The video ended here. I smiled and sent a message to the private investigator. "Did you find out which hotel they are staying at?" A reply came quickly. "Pacific Hotel Room, 1805. I looked at my watch. 1 hour in the morning. At this time, they should have already returned, right? I don't know if they're arguing now or if they have already made up as if nothing happened. It doesn't matter anyway. None of this is important anymore." I picked up my phone and dialed Lee Jun's number. Act according to the original. Plan tomorrow. Chapter 12. The next morning, I arrived at the acquiring company's office on time across the negotiating table. Soo-young's face was grim. He didn't expect me to suddenly appear. And even more so, he didn't expect me to bring a new merger. Proposal. What does this mean? He stared intently at me. Didn't we agree on everything yesterday? I smiled. Sorry, I changed my mind. He abruptly stood up. I gestured to lead June to distribute the documents. This proposal contains detailed financial statements and market analysis. I believe everyone will see that my proposal is more sincere. The CFO of the acquiring company quickly flipped through the documents. His eyes lighting up. This proposal is indeed more reasonable. Suck's face was livid. Weren't you all ready yesterday? Oh, that... The blonde woman interrupted him and said with a smile, Sorry, we think Mr. Lin's proposal is better. Swang slumped into his chair. He naturally understood what this meant. The acquisition plan he had been planning for so long was now completely ruined, and the funds invested by those competitors also went down the drain. I looked at his dejected appearance and sneered inwardly. This was only the beginning. After the negotiation ended, I received a message from Lenu husband. Are you busy? I miss you so much. She had a falling out with Swang last night, and now she remembers me, her husband. I didn't reply to her, but instead turned on the voice recorder. Inside was Su Yang's conversation from last night. What the hell are you doing? That's a company executive. You will ruin everything doing this. You were so intimate with her. Am I supposed to just stand by and do nothing? Lenu, don't forget our plan. Once this acquisition is successful and we get the money, I'll take you away before that. You better behave yourself. The recording ended here. I shook my head. This play is time to end back at the hotel. I had Laguna Range playing tickets for tonight just before leaving. I said for the rest. You know what to do? He nodded. Don't worry, boss. Everything is arranged. Chapter 13. The midnight flight landed at my hometown airport. I turned on my phone and saw more than a dozen missed calls, all from Lenu. The latest text message read, Husband, when are you coming back? Should I come to the airport to pick you up? I didn't reply and took a taxi straight home. The villa was pitch black, except for the light in the master bedroom on the second floor. Pushing open the bedroom door, I saw, Lai, you sitting on the bed looking at her phone, seeing me? She pounced over. In surprise, why didn't you answer my phone? I was worried sick. I let her hug me. Then suddenly said, Is M Country fun? Her body stiffened noticeably. Then she said nonchalantly, What? M Country. I've been home the whole time, really. I pushed her away, walked to the computer. Then what are these photos on the screen? There were photos of her and S. Young in a restaurant, and videos of them kissing and embracing in a hotel lobby. Yu's face turned deathly pale. I no need to explain, I sneered. I know all about your good times with a thud. She knelt on the ground. Husband, listen to me. I was deceived by him. Deceived you about what? Deceived you into helping him transfer funds? Deceived you into leaking trade secrets? Or deceived you into getting into his bed? I said word by word, watching her face become increasingly pale. I know everything you've done in the past 2 years, including your plan to elope to M Country. Her eyes widen. You know everything. Otherwise, why do you think Su Yang's murder failed? I looked down at her condescendingly. Do you really think he sincerely wanted to run away with you? No, it's not like that, she murmured to herself. He said he loved. Me wanted to take me. I interrupted her. Looks like you still don't know he's been eyeing our company for a long time, and you were just a pawn he's using as I spoke. I opened the call records between Su Young and his competitor, listening to the recording of their conversation plotting to acquire the company. Lai Yu's face became increasingly pale. Listen carefully to how your true love evaluates you. Su Yang's contemptuous voice came from the recording. Lenu, that stupid woman, actually thought. I loved her once I get control of the I'll dump her first thing. Chapter 14. Lenu collapsed onto the ground, tears streaming down her face. Impossible. This is impossible. I watched her break down coldly and continued playing the recording. Su Yang's Voice was still contemptuous. She thinks she's somewhat important. Isn't she just relying on her face to latch onto a rich man in the end? What's the difference between her and those women standing on the street enough? Lenu covered her ears. Tears, streaming down her face uncontrollably, stopped playing it. I turned off the recording, walked over to her, and squatted down. Now, do you know how foolish you were for a man who doesn't love you at all? You betrayed your husband and family. She raised her head. Her eyes filled with despair. I'm sorry. I really know I was wrong. No, you were wrong, I sneered. You're feeling sorry for yourself for being deceived, right? If Suang had really taken you away, you'd be enjoying yourself abroad. Now, why would you be apologizing to me here? No, it's not like that. She grabbed my trouser leg. I really regret it. Please forgive me. I shook her off too late in a few days. I will convene a shareholders meeting and everything will be made public. Then the evidence of your collusion with Su Yong to transfer funds and leak trade secrets is all prepared. She suddenly raised her head, her face deathly pale. You want to? What do you think I should do? I squatted down, looking at her terrified eyes. These are all crimes that can put you in jail. Lie. You collapsed onto the ground, tears streaming down her face. I don't want to go to jail, don't want to then cooperate obediently. I stood up, took a document from the drawer. This is a divorce agreement sign. It now. She took the document, saw the conditions on it, and her body trembled violently. This is to what I looked down at her conned ascendingly, compared to going to jail. Isn't this a better choice? The agreement stated that after the divorce, she would leave with nothing and permanently lose the qualification to work in the financial sector for an ambitious career woman. This was tantamount to a death sentence, but she had no choice. Watching her sign her name with trembling hands, I felt no emotion in my heart. This is the price of betrayal. Chapter 15. The next day, I took the divorce agreement to the notary office. Lai, you seem to have all her strength drained away. Her whole body curled up on the bed when I came in. She raised her head, her eyes red and swollen. Could you give me another chance, I sneered. When you betrayed me, did you ever think about giving me a chance? She bit her lip, tears streaming down again, looking at her pathetic state. I suddenly found it funny, do you know? From the moment I discovered your affair until now, I've been thinking about one question. She stared blankly at me. Where exactly have I wronged you? I gave you such a good life and supported you in every aspect of your career. But why did you still treat me like this? She opened her mouth but couldn't say a word. Forget it, it's meaningless to talk about this now. I turned to walk out. Next week is the shareholders' meeting. You'd better think clearly about how to face it. Wait, she called out to me. Suang, how is he? I stopped and turned back to look at her. What do you think? After I left, the private detective sent a message. Lenu had made more than a dozen calls to Suang, but no one answered. I smiled. Suang is probably in dire straits himself now. How could he have the mind to care about her? And this is just the beginning in this game of betrayal. Someone has to pay the price, and I will make them understand what true despair is. Chapter 16. The next day, Suang was taken away by the police. He was suspected of embezzlement, illegal operation of similar businesses, misappropriation of public funds, all sorts of charges adding up to a 10-year sentence. As soon as the news broke, Liu, who was sitting at the dining table, dropped her phone to the floor. I was drinking coffee and glanced up at her when I heard the sound. What's wrong? Heartbroken. Her face was deathly pale, and her fingers holding the phone trembled slightly. You were prepared for this all along, weren't you? Otherwise, I put down my coffee cup. Did you think I was a fool? Oblivious to everything all these years, she stared at me blankly, tears streaming down her face. Then why didn't you do it sooner? Why, I sneered. Of course it was to wait until you had exhausted all your good deeds and then round you up all at once. She slumped into the chair, her voice hoarse. You're so ruthless. I'm ruthless. I suddenly laughed when you betrayed me. Why didn't you call yourself ruthless? Then as I spoke, I pulled out my phone and played a video Swang was in the police station, frantically pointing out that Liu was a mastermind, saying he was seduced by her. Take a look what your true love looks like now. Lin, you watch Su Yang's expression in the video. Her body shaking uncontrollably. Can't take it already. I turn off. The video, don't worry. The real show is yet to come in the afternoon. The police summoned Lenu when she was taken away. She was complete Leia. In the evening, I received a message from the private investigator. Leno had confessed everything at the police station, including how she used her position to help Su Yung transfer funds and steal trade secrets. It seems she's truly scared. I stood in front of the French window and lit a cigar. The night outside, the window was as dark as ink, while my reflection was exceptionally clear. This revenge is only just begun. Chapter 17. The shareholders' meeting was held as scheduled. The conference room was full of people, all waiting for a good show. I walked onto the stage and took out a stack of documents. Today, I'm going to reveal something to everyone. The projector turned on, and Liu and Su Yang's wrongdoings were clearly displayed in front of everyone. As the general counsel of the company, Lenu has taken advantage of her position to repeatedly leak commercial secrets, and Su Yung used this information to secretly acquire company shares, attempting a hostile takeover of our company. The evidence was conclusive and irrefutable. The room erupted in an uproar. Some people angrily slammed the table. That other side with emotion. President Lin, you have raised a viper in your bosom. I surveyed the audience, everyone. This is their true colors. Now the police have intervened in the investigation, and I will also use legal means to protect the interests of the company and shareholders. After the meeting, many shareholders came to talk to me. They all said they supported my decision to bring these two traitors to justice. I responded with a smile, but in my heart I thought, you people are just here for the spectacle. If Suk's plan had succeeded, you would have probably turned against me long ago. When I returned home in the evening, Lenu had already moved out. She didn't dare to see me and only left a letter on the dining table. Husband, I'm sorry. I know my sins are unforgivable. I tore the letter to pieces and threw it into the trash can. This home has never been her haven. Since she chose to betray me, she should have expected this day. I opened the safe and took out a document. It was an investigation report on Lyu's parents. Since she is so ungrateful, then don't blame me for pushing her to the point of no return. Chapter 18. The next day, Lai's parents came to my door. The elderly couple knelt in front of me, weeping bitterly. Please let Yaya go. She's still young. It was just a moment of foolishness. I looked at them coldly. Does being young mean you can do whatever you want? Lin's mother wiped away her tears. She already knows she was wrong. Please forgive her this time. You hear? I scoffed and took out a document from the drawer. Take a look at this before you say anything else. It was a land transfer contract. It clearly stated that Lenu, in her parents' names, used the money I gave her to buy several pieces of land in her hometown and then sold them to Swang Shell Company at a price far exceeding the market price. This Lin's father's hand holding the contract trembled slightly. Your daughter took my money to secretly collude with someone else, and even used your names to launder money, I said coldly. If this gets out, you won't be able to escape responsibility either. The elderly couple collapsed to the ground. Uncle Lin, I'll give you two choices. I looked down at them. Either accept legal sanctions, or what Lin's father asked anxiously, sell the land to me and then leave this city forever. This otherwise, why do you think Swang would be interested in your pieces of land? I sneered, because a high-speed railway station is about to be built. There, once it's built, the land price will increase dozens of times, if not more. Lin's father's face turned pale. You knew all along. Of course I knew. I stood up and looked down at them condescendingly. After all, I was the one who secured that project. The elderly couple exchanged a glance, their faces full of despair. Take it over and let me know. I walked to the door. I'll give you 3 days. In the evening, Lenu called me. Please let my parents go. Her voice was hoarse. "It's my fault." "Come at me." I interrupted her. "Are you worthy?" There was silence on the other end of the phone. "Remember, you are nothing." Now I said, word by word, "If you want to protect your parents, make them obedient," hanging up the phone. I glanced at the time the trial is in. 2 days, Sue and Lai will both appear in court. I opened my computer and pulled up the trial preparation materials. This play is time to end it. Chapter 19. On the day of the trial, the courthouse was surrounded by reporters after all this was one of the most sensational cases in the financial world. In recent years, a senior executive of a listed company colluded with a partner to transfer funds, leak trade secrets, and even attempt a hostile takeover. It was simply a textbook case of financial crime. I walked into the courtroom in my impeccable suit, passing through the barrage of media cameras and microphones without looking sideways in the courtroom swung, and Liu sat on opposite sides. Swang's suit was wrinkled and he looked much more haggard. Seeing me, he gnashed his teeth and said, "You, Lin, you're so ruthless." Lenu kept her head lowered, not daring to look at me. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. Ruthless. This is just the beginning. The trial began and the prosecution presented a large amount of evidence, from fund transfers to communication records and then to the process of leaking trade secrets. Everything, big or small, was crystal clear. Swang became frantic, jumped up and pointed at Lenu. It's all her fault for seducing me. If she hadn't taken the initiative, how could I have? Lenu finally raised her head. "Swang, do you still have any shame? Who is it who said they wanted to take me?" Silence. The judge banged the gavel. I watched coldly as they blamed each other. This farce was nothing more than an attempt to reduce their own guilt. Finally, the judge announced a recess as Swang was being taken away. He roared angrily at me. "Linan, may you die a horrible death." Lenu, on the other hand, didn't say a word, but I noticed her clenched fists were trembling slightly. Walking out of the courtroom, reporters swarmed around me. "President Lin, what do you have to say about your wife's betrayal?" I stopped and looked at the camera. "LS, I only want to say that any betrayal must pay the price. Then will you forgive Ms. Lenu?" I smiled and said, "Some mistakes once made are forever beyond redemption." At the press conference that evening, I formally announced a bombshell. The company will launch 100 billion yuan high-speed railway station commercial complex project, and the project site is precisely the plots of land owned by Liu's parents. I knew she would definitely see this news, and she would certainly understand that I was going to completely cut off her parents' escape route as well, because the price of betrayal is never just a matter for one person alone. Chapter 20. The next day, early in the morning, Lenu proactively applied to confess her guilt in court. She tearfully confessed everything, including how she used her position to tip off Swang, how she helped him transfer funds, and even their affair was confessed. Clearly, Swang was so angry that he jumped up and pointed at her, cursing loudly. I sat in the audience watching this farce. It was truly laughable. When you were betraying me, you were lighty. But now you were biting each other like two mad dogs after the court session ended when Lai was being taken away. She passed by me. She stopped, her voice choked with sobs. I'm sorry, I turned a deaf ear and walked straight out. When I returned home in the evening, the butler handed me a letter sent by Liu's parents. The letter said they decided to move back to their hometown and would never appear in front of me again. They only begged me to be lenient. Towards their daughter, I threw the letter into the fireplace, watching it turn into ashes into the flames. At this moment, the phone rang. It was Li Jun, boss. The matter at the high-speed train station has been settled. I looked at the night scene. Outside the window, let them offer a good price, hanging up the phone. I opened the safe and took out a stack of photos. These were the moments of Lenu and Su Yong over the years, from the initial ambiguous glances to the later crazy betrayal. I flipped through them. One by one suddenly laughed. These will all become the past, and they will also receive their due punishment. Sir, the butler knocked and came in. Do you need me to help you pack up, Mrs. Lind? Thinks I shook my head, just throw them. Away from now on, this house will no longer have her traces, just like she never existed.